What is going on, guys? Josiah LaRue here. So today we're going to be talking about some of the latest news from the Apple event on September 9th, 2015. So let's talk about it. So yeah, let's talk about some of the really exciting things that came out of the Apple event. I'm just going to make an overall quick video here, talk about some of the really cool features, and as the products come out, we're going to do further reviews on them. But for now, let's just talk about what was announced at the event. So first of all, they had Apple Watch. Now, Apple Watch, really, they just touched on Apple Watch OS 2.0, all the new features that are going to be coming out in that. I'm super excited already having an Apple Watch to see what they can update on the watch with glances, how you can use the digital crown and scroll forward, and it'll show you the progress throughout the day. And that'll change what the weather's going to be like, the battery life of your watch, the battery life of your phone, the different calendar events going in the future, and just pulling from already preloaded information on your phone to update what's going to be going on throughout your day. That's a pretty cool feature. But they also introduced a couple new things. First of all, they introduced the Apple Watch in gold and rose gold, but in the anodized Sport aluminum edition. So for the same cost as Sport, you can get the fancier rose gold, which is normally the $10,000 version. So you can get, it looks cool, but it's just really colorized anodized aluminum. But it also has a whole bunch of new bands in different colors, so if you want to customize your watch 20 ways to Sunday, they have it. They also have Hermes Apple Watch, which is basically like a very premium name brand. I hadn't heard it before, but it looks really fancy. But basically they got a new band, which is a really large strap of leather which wraps around your wrist twice. It kind of looks weird, but I guess it's fashion, so that's an interesting thing. And Apple Watch OS 2.0 is coming out September 16th, so pretty excited for that. The beta already has been pretty cool, but hopefully they'll just tweak out the battery life issue. That's the main issue with the update, is that people have been complaining battery life isn't so great. But other than that, Apple Watch OS 2.0, pretty excited for that. So second of all, and probably one of the biggest announcements coming out of this event, was the Apple iPad Pro. Now, what is the iPad Pro? Well, basically, it's an even bigger iPad. So now we really have three sizes: the iPad Mini, the regular iPad, and now the iPad Pro. So what makes it the Pro version? Well, first of all, it's a 12.9-inch display with 2730 by 2048 resolution, which is over 5.6 million pixels in a 12.9-inch display. So what's so cool about that? Well, basically, it's two iPads, traditional iPad Air, stacked side by side. So you can run two regular full-size iPad apps side by side in native 4.3 resolution and still have that gorgeous display, or just one app at full size, which is just beautiful. And they were showing screenshots of this thing, and it's really awesome. Now, it does have an A9X processor chip, which they were equating to basically desktop grade software. Because Apple doesn't necessarily release their benchmarking, and because you're running specific iOS coding, it's kind of hard to compare versus alternatives. But all you can definitely count on is that iOS apps are going to run blazing fast on this thing. And you can edit 4K streams, you can do video and Photoshop and a whole bunch more. Adobe showed off what they could do, medical professionals showed off what they can do, and just a lot of power that you can have in this larger tablet. So basically they're trying to become a Surface killer. Not sure if it's necessarily going to compete, being as it doesn't have USB ports. That's my only concern here, but it does offer some other cool things. It has 4 speakers. It's the first iPad to have surround sound speakers, which is really cool. And it actually, using the gyroscope, and it will determine which way you have it laid out, and it will then orientate and blast the sound. So the sound actually sounds really good. Some other specs for the iPad Pro include an 8-megapixel rear-facing camera, 802.11 AC wireless support with MIMO, and up to 150 megabit per second LTE support. So a very connected device. But with all this power, you would think that it would have a not so great battery, but Apple is claiming that they have a 10-hour battery life, which is about the same even of their 2 smaller devices as well. So that's pretty cool. And in looking at the design, actually in one of their promo videos, they pulled the iPad apart in layers, and it was interesting to see the iPad is literally dominated by 2 huge batteries, and then the rest of it's just a small board down the middle, and then in each of the 4 corners is the speakers. So the design is really interesting. A couple other things that they premiered there was the Apple Smart Keyboard. Now, this is not an actual Bluetooth keyboard, and it's the first external keyboard for a tablet that Apple has actually ever released. It actually uses a interesting new 3-prong magnetic connector device similar to their MagSafe connectors on their laptops, where you just set the keyboard onto it, it clicks into it, it's a cover and keyboard stand like their smart covers, but it just clicks onto it and uses magnetic connection for power and for data transfer, which is a really cool design. So you don't have to worry about syncing it up and worrying about Bluetooth knocking in or out or whatever. It actually uses the same butterfly switches that are in the new MacBook, which is their 12-inch razor-thin device, so it's actually good key switches as opposed to some of the third-party competitors. But it does come at a price of $169. The other thing they introduced is the Apple Pencil. Now, it's not a pen, it's an Apple Pencil, but it's basically a stylus. And they stress that because of the huge 12-inch display, you want to be able to draw on it. So Adobe premiered some of their apps, including Photoshop and Photo Touch-Up and other things, where you can use the pen to precisely draw on it. And it uses touch and pressure, so the way that you use the pen is extremely finite, and you can draw razor sharp lines or tilt it on its side for wider strokes, and how hard you press depends on how much ink or mass will flow down. So using the pen or pencil is pretty cool. You can also use it to mark up things, draw, move stuff around, so it's kind of like the stylus with the Galaxy Note, but it's an actual separate device. It actually is rechargeable, and it has its own lightning connector. So you plug it into the port on the iPad, and the iPad charges the stylus. It will be interesting to see if you could use that with the regular iPads as well, because even if it's on a smaller screen, even on the 9-inch iPad, being able to precisely mark and draw would be a great device, and something actually from Apple it's going to work really well. The Apple Pencil is coming in at $99. Now, for cost, the iPad Pro comes in at 3 different price points of $799, $899, and $999 for 32, 64, and 128 gigs of storage, and then add about $120 for each price point for adding LTE service. So the max one is about $1,300 for a 128 gig model with LTE support. So these products aren't cheap, but it's definitely a pro device. It has a bigger screen, bigger battery, and it's definitely designed to compete with the Surface, and it's actually pretty competitively priced at it as well, being as a 32 Surface Pro does start at about $800. So it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up. It's not necessarily directly competitive because you're not running like full OS X apps on this thing, even though it does have a very blazing fast processor, but that's not to say that iOS apps are by any means constrained, and with the horsepower and the API that they're offering now, developers can really create high-powered apps specifically for the iPad Pro. So I'm pretty excited to see what comes out of that. Another cool thing that they talked about was the new Apple TV. So basically this is a kind of refresh, but also a new generation of the Apple TV box. So it's still about this big, but it adds a lot of new stuff, including a new OS. It's new, more streamlined interface. It is very similar with the similar layout or whatever, but it's skinned. Probably the biggest thing is the deep integration of Siri. You can use Siri to control anything from looking up specific shows to asking it what actors are in the show to asking it to pull up specific movies or TV shows with that actor. It's also very contextual based, so if you asked what movies that Jason Statham were in, then you could ask which ones he were in that have like car chases, so it'd bring up something like Fast and Furious or whatever. So it's very contextual based and listening to what you say. It also has a really cool feature that I thought really a lot of other companies should do, particularly Amazon. Listen up. Hey Siri, what did he or she just say? What does it do? It backs the clip up 15 to 20 seconds and then turns on subtitles. So you can see and hear exactly what someone just said. So you'll never miss it. So someone walks in the room, starts talking loudly. Hey Siri, what did they just say? Backs it up and you can watch it again. That is by far a huge seller, I think. Another interesting thing is that they redid the controller. So it has on the top a large area where you can touch. So you can swipe, gesture, tap, and it just makes maneuvering a lot more smooth than the old type scroller wheel. The other thing they did is, of course, deep Siri integration. There's an actual dedicated button. It is Bluetooth, so the remote can be anywhere in the room and always work, but it also has an IR blaster, so you can use it to control your TV. It has volume up and down, and it also has an accelerometer and gyroscope, so you can turn it around sideways and play games. Yes, that's another big integration that they have is apps. So basically skinned down versions of iOS apps are coming to the TV, where you can play games, and you can even do a multiplayer if supported, where you can have your friends controlling on their iPods, iPads, or whatever, and then everybody's playing up on the TV. So it's going to be cool to see. The new Apple TVs definitely are not as cheap as the old ones were, with $150 and $200 for the 32 and 64 gigs of internal flash, but that allows you to save music, save apps, and other things directly to your Apple TV. So overall, a new refresh. I'm very interested to see how people use it. I do believe it is going to be better with the apps and Siri integration, and overall I think it's definitely the next innovation of smart TVs or smart TV set-top boxes. And finally, let's talk about the new iPhone. Now, everybody knew this was coming, and true to form, Apple stuck with their naming layout. This is the new iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. Basically, they introduced two new slightly upgraded models of the last generation phone and bumped everything down the line. So let's talk about it. What's new? Well, on the outside, nothing much, except the fact that they added a fourth color, rose gold. So now you have rose gold, gold, space gray, and silver. So basically that. Now it's really the internals that really got changed. So first of all, camera. That upgraded to a 12 megapixel sensor with 4K video. So you can record in 4K, can't necessarily watch it, but then you could export it to your iPad Pro and edit it and see it natively on 4K there, or anything else that actually natively plays 4K, but you are recording in 4K. The other cool thing is that the front-facing camera now takes selfies with flash. Basically what it does is it measures backlighting and then triggers the screen to light up light real quick as it takes the image, and is supposed to balance it out with different types of white or yellow or whatever to get that best optimum flash, which is an interesting design. They didn't actually throw an LED on the front, they just trigger the screen, but they add a different color layer depending on how much light you need for a good backlight. So that's an interesting thing. Another cool thing that they added was live pictures. Basically, when you take a picture, it records about a 1 second in front and behind the image with sound. So if you want, you can then later on tap on the image and it'll animate. So say you were standing in front of the waterfall, water falls for like 2 seconds and you can hear the water running, or you know, clouds, you take a picture of the clouds actually move across the sky. So it's animated pictures, and Apple says that they compress all this down. It really doesn't take much more data, so it'll be interesting to see how live photos really works. But how do you trigger a live photo? Well, this is what they're calling 3D touch. Basically, it's force touch on the Apple Watch, called 3D touch in the iPhones. Basically, it's just pressure. You push down harder and harder, and it does different contextual things. So if you're in a message, you can tap it or push down slightly once and it'll pop up a preview, and then you can push harder and it'll fully open up the message. You can also push and hold on native apps to bring up on maps like pin this location or take me to home. If you're in a message, compose a new message, and other things. So it'll be interesting to see how developers will be able to use this force touch. Basically, it's another level of input. How hard you press on the screen is going to change the way that you can do things and add another layer of input. Another couple things that they added was the brand new A9 processor, which is basically somewhat scaled down version of the A9X and the iPad Pro for this device. So it's definitely a by far faster processor. They integrated the M9 chip directly into the CPU, so now the dies can be shrunk smaller, and it can also be constantly measuring all of that fitness and motion data. They also say that allows them to have the Hey Siri always on, just like Hey Google, so that you can talk to your phone wherever and it'll respond. So that's an interesting, cool feature. A couple of things that they did update was LTE and Wi-Fi now are faster. They upgraded iCloud storage to 50 gig, 200 gig, and a terabyte for each incremental cheaper prices than ever before. I think this was a move because of the iPad Pro and all of the high-res content that it's going to be creating, so they wanted to offer cheaper storage. And overall prices for iPhones did go down. So now what it is the iPhone 5S is free, iPhone 6 is $99, iPhone 6 Plus is $199, iPhone 6S is $199, and the iPhone 6S Plus is $299. So everything kind of got bumped down. They filled out the SKU, and overall this is probably one of the greatest lineups of iPhones ever. And according to Tim Cook, one of the best loved lineups as well. Another thing that they started offering is the iPhone upgrade program. So basically, It's just like all the carriers in that you pay a monthly fee of about $32 a month. That allows you to basically in 2 years buy out your phone, but it also offers Apple Care, and you can upgrade every year or every time that they introduce a new iPhone. So basically they're trying to get you to stay with Apple instead of the carriers for buying your phones, which is overall not a bad idea, particularly since most of the carriers now are going contractless. So you just buy the phone and then bring the phone to them for your data and phone usage. So overall pretty cool. So wrapping up, what are my thoughts about this? Overall, I'm very excited. Apple Watch OS 2.0 is coming out. I can't wait to see it on my new Apple Watch. The rest of them is just cool accessories, really. Apple TV, while being cool, is probably not something I'm going to buy necessarily. I already have my computer, I have my MacBook, I have a Chromecast and everything else. But for those who want a dedicated set-top box, Apple is definitely giving a competitor here with the amount of power, performance, and seamless usability that they packed into this device. iPad Pro, not something I'm going to be buying just because I don't feel that I have enough money or necessarily the performance that I need to get out of an iPad Pro. But for those who want the power of almost a Surface but in iOS form, or just a larger screen device to be able to work and edit on the go, the iPad Pro is definitely something you should be checking out. As for the iPhone 6s, I might actually be getting one. I'm very excited to check out the new camera, the new 3D Touch, and just continue to gen up. And particularly since they have the new upgrade program, I could literally just swap in my old phone, get a new one, and for $32 a month be able to buy a brand new iPhone and get one every year. Plus you get Apple Care. That's probably the biggest thing. They throw in a warranty with it. So overall, it was a very cool press announcement. They wrapped it up with a One Republic concert, so that was pretty cool. And overall, the event was really good, and I cannot wait for the next couple weeks as all these products drop. So yeah guys, that's been my review of the Apple event on September 2015. Let me know in the comment box down below, what did you think about what I was talking about? Are you excited for the new Apple Watch, or for the Apple TV, iPad Pro, or the iPhone 6s? What do you like the most? Any features that I talked about that really jumped out at you? Did you watch the press conference? What did you think? As always, let me know in the comment box down below. So yeah guys, thanks for watching. Maybe you can check out my last video right here and what I talked about right here. Or hit that like and subscribe button down below. Don't forget to check me out on social media, and I'll see you in the next one.